We now turn to our panel discussion, titled Interfaith Dialogue, Leadership, and Policy Innovation, Addressing Global Challenges in Modern Societies. This dynamic conversation will be joined by Ambassador Marc J. Sievers, Director of AGC Abu Dhabi, Ayub Kara, former Communication Minister of the State of Israel, Dr. Anthony Raju, advocate at the Supreme Court of India, Senator Cinzia Pellegrino, member of the European Policies Commission. Please join the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, welcome to the final panel discussion of the IDCT conference titled Interfaith Dialogue, Leadership and Policy Innovation, Addressing Global Challenges in Modern Societies. My name is Ahmed Sharif Al-Amri. I'm a political science student in United Arab Emirates University and president of Sheikh Mohammed bin Khalid Al Nahyan Youth Council in Al Ain. I have the honor of having here with me today Mr. Marc J. Sievers, retired ambassador of the United States of America to the Sultanate of Oman and current director of the American Jewish Committee in Abu Dhabi, and Dr. Anthony Raju, advocate at the Supreme Court of India. Now, I'd like to pose the first question to Mr. Marc J. Sievers. How can interfaith dialogue contribute to resolving global conflicts and promoting peace?
Thank you very much, and allow me to thank first our friends at Emirate Scholar for this wonderful conference, as well as His Highness Sheikh Nahyan and the Ministry of Tolerance and Coexistence. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to participate and to join you today. Interfaith dialogue is an essential element of the dialogue of civilizations around the world today. And I think it's very important not to lose track of the significance of religious faith around the world. I think there's been a tendency in the secular West over the last generation or so to lose sight of the significance of faith in people's lives and the power that religious faith has to create understanding and mutual dialogue among peoples from different cultures and backgrounds and religions. So I'm heartened to see the trend back toward discovering the roots of our beliefs. And on a personal note, I would just like to thank the authorities here in Abu Dhabi and the United Arab Emirates for the blessing that of the Abrahamic Family House and the Moses bin Maimon Synagogue at the Abrahamic Family House. I'm sure that the church and the mosque are also of great significance to those communities. But for the Jews here, it's just a remarkable experience to have a synagogue that we can attend for our regular prayers and for our family celebrations and for our religious holidays. So so thanks to all of those who built this this magnificent edifice. Thank you.
Dr. Anthony?
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. And it's a privilege and honor to be part of this very, very prestigious conference on civilizations and tolerance. And my heartfelt gratitude to Emirate scholars for studies. And for the last 2 days, I'm just are listening, the top religious leaders and intellectuals from all over the world. And I noticed that they have a major focus on youth empowerment, the women empowerment, the education, the poverty, and the tolerance. And if we talk about the global leader, the important role of the global leaders, then I must say the global leaders can leverage interfaith initiative to address climate change, environmental issues by uniting religious communities around shared ethical and moral responsibility towards the planet. And how this is possible? What is the way out? Definitely framing environmental action as a moral and spiritual duties, and mobilizing faith-based organization for climate advocacy, encouraging sustainable practices within religious communities, interfaith collaborations on climate action project, integrating climate education into faith-based teachings, and engaging in faith-based diplomacy for stronger climate project.
Thank you, Dr. Anthony. And I'd like to go and add to this point and pose a question to Mr. Marc first. How can global leaders leverage interfaith initiatives to address climate change and environmental issues?
I think all religions teach the creation of the world and all that is in it by an almighty God. The God may have different names, but essentially the idea is the same. If we believe that Almighty God created the world and created our environment and created the creatures that live on the earth and in the sea and in the sky, and the humans that came, at least in our tradition, that came last, you have to appreciate that this is a sacred trust to human beings to protect the world in which we live, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. So I think that's a very powerful idea that can be mobilized effectively in the cause of preserving the environment and living, for humans to live in harmony with the world around them.
And,
Yes, I'm totally agree with you, sir. And I believe that interfaith leaders and the global leaders can come together at certain forum to promote peace, the harmony, the tolerance, the love and compassion. And there are different ways that we can achieve it.
And of course, with these initiatives, they have to have strategies, of course. And I'll go back to you, Dr. Anthony. What strategies can be employed to enhance the effectiveness of interfaith dialogue and policy making?
You're talking about the policy making? Yeah, of course. See, enhancing the effectiveness of interfaith dialogue and policy making requires structured strategy and ensure inclusivity, credibility, and impact. And how this is possible? There are different ways. And this is my personal experience, in fact, Interfaith dialogue in governance, establish interfaith advisory council within governments to provide religious perspectives on policy matters, promoting inclusive and representative participations, align discussion with global framework like UN SDG, emphasizing shared moral values for addressing poverty, climate change, peace building, fostering collaboration between religious and secular institutions. So these are the few things, if we follow this thing, I think this is the best way to be part of policy making.
Dr. Marc.
Yes, and we're talking about environmental initiatives. So in many cases, religious leaders on the local level are the ones that people turn to for advice, for guidance, for moral support. And these are networks that can be mobilized for the purpose of protecting the environment, for the purpose of advancing dialogue among peoples from different faiths and different backgrounds. And so I think that these religious institutions have a very important role, and we should never lose sight of that as we look to advance dialogue and to promote peace and mutual understanding.
You mentioned the word role, and I'd like to use that for this question. What role does interfaith dialogue play in promoting global health and well-being?
I'd very much like the role it can play in environmental health. I think if you, again, going back to the idea that we are creatures of the Almighty and serve His purposes, preserving and promoting personal health and the health of our family members is something that fits very smoothly into a religious worldview. And I think it is a very effective way of promoting personal health and focusing on good nutrition and proper medical care and so forth. So all of these things go together in a kind of seamless way if you choose to look at it that way.
Definitely, the health issue at this point of time is the biggest challenge in the world right now after the pandemic. And I trust and I believe, and I very strongly believe, that interfaith dialogue plays a crucial role in promoting global health and well-being by leveraging the moral authority, extensive networks, and community trust that religious institute holds. Mobilizing faith-based organizations for public health initiative, religious institutions serve as a platform for public health and educational campaign. Encouraging ethical approaches to the healthcare, many faith traditions emphasize community support, counseling, spiritual healing, which are essential for the mental health. Religious leaders can pressure governments to ensure access to affordable healthcare for all, especially marginalized communities.
And I'd like to pose the same question to you, Dr. Anthony. How can interfaith initiatives support the goals of sustainable development and poverty alleviation?
See, again, it's a very important question and definitely it's very close to my heart as well. And I always say that when the global leaders and the interfaith leader, and what we say interfaith leaders, because interfaith leaders is followed by millions of people. What they sermons, what they teach, it's really a leaves space in the heart. So I must appeal to all the leaders and all the global leaders and the religious as well. Let's come together on one stage, one forum to promote human rights, the peace, the harmony, the tolerance, the healthcare, the climate change, and there are several global issues.
Protecting the weak is a basic principle of religion, I think, in all of its manifestations. We all have an obligation as moral beings to have concern for our fellow humans and to look out for their welfare. Religious faith contributes greatly to an appreciation for the need to address concerns of inequality and disparate treatment of different groups. And through dialogue also, we come to understand better our fellow humans who exist on the same space that we do. So all of these things work together very smoothly.
So they indeed do complement each other. But how can the interfaith dialogue be used to foster a sense of global citizenship and interconnectedness?
I'll just come back to the same idea. If we all learn to respect each other's beliefs and each other's space on the planet, it certainly promotes global peace and understanding. And I was, one point I wanted to make earlier, and I was remiss when I talked about the Abrahamic Family House and the mosque, church, and synagogue. I neglected to mention the Baps Hindu Mandir that's also been built just outside of Abu Dhabi as another example of the spirit of tolerance in this wonderful country. So I will, and that's been visiting that temple over the years as it was being built, and seeing its completion has been a very moving experience for me personally as well.
Yes, as I already told you that there is a big role the global leaders and the Interfaith community has to play to develop this world.
And what innovative policy approaches can be derived from interfaith perspectives to address contemporary global challenges?
You're talking the sustainable development?
The innovative policy approaches that can be derived from interfaith perspectives.
And in fact, interfaith dialogue can foster a sense of global citizenship and interconnectedness. This is a very important part, what we understand, and promoting shared ethical and moral values play a very vital role when we talk about the global peace and the harmony.
I fully agree with Dr. Anthony. In fact, we have very similar attitudes about most of these issues, I think, here. But I just want to commend a bit an initiative by my own United States State Department from many years has, by congressional mandate, produced a report on international religious freedom. It's a requirement by law for the State Department to produce this report. And I think that has contributed to an appreciation, at least in the United States government, of the significance of religious expression in different countries around the world, and a commitment to promoting the freedom of religious practice everywhere. That's contributed to a better understanding of the importance of religious faith also as a policy issue.
And I'd like to add a point before I conclude this panel discussion. I was on my way from Al Ain to the conference, and I just realized something. I have met different faiths and different perspectives, and we all came together on one main thing: it's tolerance. And coming together, as you said, Doctor. And I would love to give my heartfelt gratitude to each and every person that came here and participated in these panel discussions, because truly I had no idea it would be this big and this critical until I participated in one of them. So first I'd like to thank you, Dr. Anthony and Mr. Marc. And I would also like to show my gratitude to Emirates Scholar for their dedication and efforts in organizing this illustrious conference, and to His Highness Sheikh Nahyan bin Mubarak for making this happen, and finally to my mother and father. And thank you once again for tuning into this beautiful panel discussion that addressed global challenges in modern societies. Thank you so much.
And thank you for your moderation.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you so much.